And it's been a back and forth. It's been great. I'm developing a really good rapport, but this is a process, and it's not something that just happens overnight. You go from one personality to another. I'm instilling the things that have helped me through my career, through my life, my experiences, what I've gone through, and what works best. That doesn't mean what works best for me works best for you. So it's very individualistic.
It's time for Sportsnaut's MLB podcast. Big League Buzz, news and interviews from around the majors. Here's your host, Scott Gulbranson.
Welcome back to Big League Buzz, the baseball podcast from Sportsnaut. I'm Scott Gulbranson. Joining me today, 14-year MLB veteran, Bret Boone. Now, guess what? He is the hitting coach of the Texas Rangers. Bret, thanks for being with us, man. I appreciate it. I know you just got this gig about a month ago. Keeping busy. Thanks for talking to us about how it's all going down.
You got it. My pleasure, man. It's been a lot. I've been here a little over 3 weeks, and well, I've been in this game my whole life, but this was I'm trying to be a quick learner on this side of the ledger, being a coach at the big league level. But the guys are great. The coaching staff's been great. Love Bruce is a longtime friend of mine. I played for him in 2000. And the players, as much as the game has changed, it's still baseball, and it's still it's that 60 foot battle every night between hitter and pitcher. And it can be tough at times. I've been here when I first got here, we rattled off 6 in a row, then we lost 6 in a row, and the sky's falling one day and you're all right the next. But this is a good core, and I just got to keep reminding them. Remember, this group in this current Texas Rangers group, they won a World Series in 2023, and we're not even through May yet. So we've hit some rocky road, and it's been bumpy, but you gotta play it out, because it's a marathon, and I've been through it a lot, and yeah, it seems terrible when you're going through it, and it seems like it's never going to end, but this too shall pass. And I've just got to keep reminding these guys how good they are. And like I said, 1 year removed from a world championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when you stepped in to this Rangers offense, it was struggling. It was averaging about 3.2 runs per game. And since you've gotten there, now the team's bumped that up to 4.2 runs. Yeah, like you said, you had some win streaks. You had a 9-4 stretch for the first couple weeks. And
Right.
What I've seen you talk about too, even on your own podcast, by the way, the Bret Boone podcast, which you don't have much time for anymore, you've emphasized the intangibles like confidence and competitiveness over kind of the modern analytic stuff. Can you walk us through how you've instilled that mindset in the clubhouse, and what specific changes you've encouraged the hitters on the Rangers to make at the plate to kind of start this turnaround?
Well, it's a slow process, and you have to take into consideration a lot of things. Personalities are very individual. People are at different parts of their career. You got young players who are just getting their feet wet and learning and have a year or two in the big league. And you've got some guys in there that got 8 or 9 years in and have got a World Series trophy. So they come from all different. Doesn't mean baseball isn't baseball. A lot gets made of analytics, and I think there's a time and a place for them. And I don't come in and turn over the dinner table and say, no, we're just going old school, and the way I did it was the best way. Not at all. This is an ex-player speaking to current players. And here's some advice I can give you, and give me some feedback. I can learn from your side of the ledger. And it's been a back and forth. It's been great. I'm developing a really good rapport, but this is a process, and it's not something that just happens overnight. You go from one personality to another. I'm instilling the things that have helped me through my career, through my life, my experiences, what I've gone through, and what works best. That doesn't mean what works best for me works best for you. So it's very individualistic. But my thing is, watch the game, talk to your teammates. That's the most important thing. Coaches, we're there. We're sometimes somebody to give you a hug. Sometimes we're your psychologist. And at the end of the day, the players win and lose games. And I just want each one of the players to develop their plan for the evening. You've watched tape. Who's hitting in front of you today? Who's hitting behind you? What's their track record with the pitcher on the mound? Look out into that bullpen. Who's getting loose? What's your what's your history with the pitcher that you might be facing here in a minute? What kind of situation? Watch the scoreboard.
Brett, coming again, 14-year playing career, you saw it all, but without the prior coaching experience, what's been the biggest surprise or the biggest transition for you in the hitting coach role? Because you got a lineup full of veterans like Marcus and Jock, but then you got young players like Wyatt Langford and others. What have you had to do? Like, what have you talked to these guys about? What's been the approach for you taking that playing career of yours and trying to reach through to them?
You have to be tactical. You can't just dive in one way for everybody. I'm taking into consideration Wyatt Langford was in college 2 years ago, and he's a young player and a talented player at that. Marcus, the one thing, and I talk about that World Series championship, this isn't instructional ball. This isn't low A ball where I'm here, the teacher. These are polished, for the most part, major league veterans that have a resume. So it's not, it's not teaching time. It's tweaking time. It's help you. Hey, I tried this when this was happening to me. Are you there?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I tried this when it happened to me. That might relate to the situation you're going through. So it depends who you're talking to. The one thing that surprised me the most in this, where I knew when I got back in the game, I would care, and I would put everything I had into this into this new job, but I didn't realize how much I would care and how emotionally invested I would get. I mean, I come to the park. I had a son that was playing in the minor league just a year ago, and it's kind of like that for me. I used to go to his games and we'd work some, and man, when he was going good, I was that proud father. My dad was always very stoic when he would watch me play, and would never let him see his sweat, and he had that attitude, good, bad, and different. And I tried to be like that when I'm around my kids growing up. I don't want to draw attention to the fact that I'm even there or that I'm getting emotional. So I would watch his games, and he would be doing well, and he'd go 3 for 4 that day. And inside, I just got fireworks going off, but I got that cool demeanor on the outside. And on the contrary, when he's scuffling, man, it's tearing me up inside. That, man, I wish I could come help you. I wish I could hit for you, but I can't because I'm old now. So you go through all these emotions with your family, and then it's eerily similar with these. I call them kids just because they're all 20 years younger than me. 20 and 25 years younger than me, but you get invested, and you work in the cages, and you see these guys work and try to get to, they're working on something. And sometimes it translates onto the field that night in the game, and sometimes it doesn't. And man, you live and die with every at bat, especially when you're not winning every night. And it's like, man, we did it. Let's, all you can do is the best you can. I always talk to these guys about work efficiently. Time underneath the grandstands is for work. Once we step onto the field, it's game time, and it's survival, and we got to find a way to get a hit. It's result based.
You do well.
Right now, I've got 13 kids, and I'm living and dying with everything they do every night, positive and negative, and trying to be really positive for them. I don't want them to see me nervous or panicking. That doesn't help them. But you really get in there, and as a coach, being a coach versus a player is much different, because coach, when we win, we had a good night. When we lose, we have a terrible night, and we never got a hit, we never walk, we never turn a double play when we lose. It's all negative. As a player, to give you a little bit of reprieve, you might lose a game, but you might get a couple hits and hit a home run. So you're going to be able to sleep okay tonight and come back and get them tomorrow. When you're coaching and you lose, you're 0 for 5 and you did nothing positive. So I seem to take it a little bit harder on this side of the ledger now.
Well, Brett, let me ask you this too, because as you brought up, talking to these guys, the mix of veterans and young players on the Rangers, the talented roster that you have, you and I were born the same year. When you look at kids today, because they're all kids, right? Like you said, they might be 25, 30 years younger than you in some cases. When we hear so much about the younger generation in all other types of workplaces. When it comes to ball, when it comes to baseball, do you see differences in how you have to communicate and work with them versus, let's say, coaches that were your age back when you played?
Absolutely. They speak a different language than we do. I have a son-in-law who plays shortstop for the Atlanta Braves, and he's a great kid, and he's but he talks a little bit of a different language. We have a great
Mm-hmm.
we have a great relationship. He'll call me in the winter. He's working on some things with his swings, but he'll start throwing in some numbers, and I'll say, listen, let me try to translate. He'll say, I hit it at X amount of degrees at X amount mile per hour. I said, so in my day, I smoke that ball. That's how we translate it, right? He goes, yeah, actually, yes. So I'm learning their language, and I'm learning angles and where it goes off the bat, and how hard it comes off the bat. Oh, that should have been a homer. I said, well, it wasn't a homer, so I suggest you hit a little harder if you want it to be a homer. Of course, I'm kidding, but yeah, it's still baseball. It's still the same things we did when I was playing. We just use different verbiage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's real interesting. And I know, to be specific too, one of the players that I've been watching since you got there, Josh Jung, he's been on fire. OPS over 1,000 in his last 11 games. Of course, we saw that 16 hit outburst you mentioned earlier against Boston right after you joined. What's been the key to unlocking performances like his, and how have you fostered that situational awareness, I should say, among hitters and the players you've mentioned so far?
Actually, Josh Young, he's
Yep.
every day he has a what I call a real efficient when he comes to the ballpark. He has a real efficient warm up, and that's what he does.
Mm.
Another thing with the modern day player is we used to hit every day, and we had 4 to a group, and we had 12 minutes. Now today, with everything at your fingertips, and we have 3 hitting coaches now, and back in my day we had 1. So you didn't have enough bodies to accommodate all the hitting you wanted to do. That's the one thing these guys do today. They hit way more than we ever hit. Sometimes I think too much is too much sometimes. Hitting a lot when you're trying to figure something out. I agree with that, but you can overdo it as well. I've done it in my career at times. Um, but Josh has a great plan, and I say the same thing to him every day. He comes down to the cage. He does his warm up. He knows when it went really good, and I tease him all the time. I go, Boone, what do you think of that warm up? I said, you don't have to ask me. You know when it's really good. And we move on, and I talked to him before the game. I said, we got a plan for this guy. We watched that. He's probably going to try to do this to you and this to you and this to you. He'll go, yeah, boom, boom, boom. And we have a dialogue back and forth. I like to do that with all the players, and I really like when those players are talking to one another. Like, man, I faced him last time, and if he gets you in this situation, he's going to do X to you. That's where the real gold is when you got these players interacting, and it's almost to the point where you look at them and go, well, they don't even need me now because they're doing it perfect. That's my goal, is these guys just constantly, like I said, watch the game, interact with your teammates, but
Yeah.
watch what's going on in the game and play to the score.
That's huge. And I mean, listen, you guys already made some good progress. I know, again, like you said, having the coach mindset, you're not happy yet. You got a ways to go there. But
Yeah.
what do you do? How do you get them from a consistency standpoint? What's your vision for this offense as you head deeper into the season?
Well, I just look at their track records, and they're all underperforming, what's expected of them. And they know that. I don't have to tell them that. There's probably enough people and fans and everything else telling them that they're not living up to expectations. I had to deal with it. But my job is I could wear a bunch of different hats. If you want me to tell you a story about the time this happened to me and I was going through this, I got that for you, just to know. And I let them know at the very beginning. I said, no matter what you do, no matter what emotion you're going through, I can always relate. I've been at the top of the mountain. I've had unbelievable years on unbelievably winning teams. And I've had some tough years and been on some tough teams that finished last. So every emotion you're going through, I can live it with you. So, you can't say, well, you don't know how it feels. Well, oh, yes, I do. I know how everything
You lived it.
feels. Top,
Yeah.
bottom, and in between. So that's nice to have that in common with the players. But sometimes it's, my best interaction with a player is stay out of his way. He's got it. Let him go out and play tonight. He doesn't need me. He's in that zone. And you got to remember, these are big league players with resumes. They're not
Yeah. Best in
low
the
A.
world.
They're not clay that we're molding. These guys are established players. So sometimes they just need a nudge. They need a piece of advice. They need a word that might click something in their brain. That's what the best guys for me were, that could walk by me on the bench and know that I was a little puzzled or a little lost, and say, Booney, how you feeling? And I'd look at my hitting coach, go, how do you think I'm feeling? You've been watching my last 5 at bats, and they might be able to say something like, hey, remember a couple of weeks ago in Kansas City when you did that one thing with your top hand? And I'll look at them and they'll say, yeah, why don't you try that? And they'd walk away. And I'd be like, wait a minute. Why didn't I think of that? I forgot. So little things like that can be huge when it comes to getting your psyche right. That the physical, the skill set that people have is individualized. Some have a little, some have more. But the bottom line is, when you leave that on deck circle, you want the least amount as you can in between your ears. That's when you're going to be more successful.
Yes, absolutely. I remind myself that too. I know you were playing golf earlier, and that I always get in my own head when I play golf, which makes it terrible.
Absolutely.
But Bret, the other thing I wanted to ask you too was, I mean, you had a 14-year career. You don't have a 14-year career being a marginal player. So, amazing accomplishment by you. But what struck me too, you played with a lot of great players, but you played, I think, with 3 of the greatest hitters that I've ever seen. Tony Gwynn, I know it was late in his career and it was 2000 in San Diego, but you also played with Ichiro. You played with Ken Griffey Jr. Talk a little bit about watching guys like that, playing with some of the other guys as a player yourself. Any of the approaches that they've taken, did that influence you as a player then and as a coach now?
Well, Griffey is the best player I've ever seen. I've ever played with. I'm sorry, not ever seen. Barry Bonds is the best I've ever seen, but Griffey's the best player I ever played with, and he was amazing. It's like he was just built differently than the rest of us. A big mentor of mine was Edgar Martinez, who was one of the great right-handed hitters of my generation. And we'd tease, when Griffey would interact with us, we'd say, don't listen to him. He's different than the rest of us. But I got to play with Tony Gwynn, probably the best pure hitter I've ever been around. As far as getting a hit, nobody could do it like Tony Gwynn. And then I played with Ichiro for 5 years, and amazing to watch him and his preparation. And he kind of changed the game on how to get a hit. He got a hit so many different ways than had ever happened before. He changed how people defense in the infield because of his technique getting out of the box. And he was 3 steps down the line when he made contact. So he'd hit a routine ground ball to short and beat it out. And big league shortstops are going, what is this? We've never seen it before. So I played with all 3. They're all very different, but all definitely were a pleasure to play with. The only problem with those 3 you mentioned is they're all left-handed. And one of my best friends is Johnny Olerud, and we'd start to talk hitting, and righty on left is not like righty on righty. So we kind of had a joke all the time, or what do you think he's going to do to you? And I'd look at Johnny and say, Johnny, you're left-handed. You live in a different world. Everything's breaking into you. This thing's breaking away from me. We can't even discuss hitting. So yeah, that's the only thing. The lefties and the righties. And I encourage that. Left-handers, get together. You're seeing the ball from the same side of the box. Righties, get together. Talk about it. You're seeing the ball. Find like-bodied people in the lineup. Find another guy in the lineup that you think they're going to pitch similar to you. And he might be up three slots ahead of you, and you can watch how that pitcher went about his business with him. It might give you a little bit of a tell how they're going to pitch you. So it's little things like that I think make a big deal. You're always looking for a tiny edge. And I think little things like that really help.
Yeah. And hey, listen, I appreciate all the time today. I don't want to technically end on a negative, but I got to ask you, of course, you had a little sweep with your brother's team. Of course, your brother, Aaron, who manages the Yankees. How does that, I mean, the brother on brother competition, you guys have had it. I mean, you baseball royalty with your family going all the way back to your grandfather, of course, and your dad, Bob, all San Diego guys. Thank you. But listen, how is that now? You're back in coaching. You're not playing against each other, but you are.
Yeah. Well, a lot was, we're in different capacities. I'm the hitting coach. He's the skipper of the Yankees. We played against each other quite a bit. We got to play with each other in 1998 in Cincinnati, and that was great. But we've never had this real competitive. He was always 4 years younger than me, so we never played in the same league. We didn't play in the same league until the big leagues. It was the first time we played together. But I think when we played against each other, we always were very supportive of one another. But when we play each other, we wanted to win. We wanted to leave town and beat them 2 out of 3 or sweep them. But I remember having games if we were winning, 8-2, and Aaron would come up late. I would be like, well, it'd be all right if he got a hit here. They're not going to win, but at least he'd get a hit. So it's always been more supportive than competitive. But I'll tell you, I went to New York. They did sweep us, and I wanted to win. Even though when the game starts, the last thing on earth I'm thinking about is my brothers in the other dugout. That has nothing to do with it. It's just the Yankees. We're here to beat them. They're in the other dugout. So it's not really competitive with me and him. It's more supportive on both of our ends.
Well, that's great to hear. And obviously he's done so much there. And, you know, you keep turning this thing around and you might be able to have a little bit of, I think the TV networks would love it if you guys faced off in the playoffs, even though you're talking about not being competitive with one another. The Rangers and the Yankees in the playoffs would be something I know they would love to see so that they could go through the whole Boone story, right? I mean, it'd be kind of crazy, but hey, listen, Bret, appreciate it so much. I wish you the best of luck. We'll probably try to check in back with you maybe after the All-Star break, see how things are going. But best of luck to you in your new coaching role, and best of luck to the Rangers. And give Bocha a sincere handshake for me as a lifelong Padre fan. He gave me a lot of great moments.
You got it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care, Bret. All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of Big League Buzz from Sportsnaut. We appreciate you being a great conversation with Bret Boone there. Do us a favor, if you would. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your audio. If you're watching us on video, make sure you subscribe to the page, hit that thumbs up, and hit the notifications bell so you know every time we have a new podcast. We appreciate you being with us. Again, thanks to Bret Boone for joining us. Well, it'd be interesting to watch what he's able to do with that Rangers team. For everybody here at Sportsnaut, I'm Scott Branson. This has been Big League Buzz. We'll see you next time.